We are with all eyes on the Democrats this week. The Republicans are not missing a step. They've set up a war room in downtown Charlotte, just outside the security perimeter that surrounds the Democratic National Convention. And yesterday, they launched a counteroffensive.
Every president since the Great Depression who ran for re-election has been able to say, you are better off than you were 4 years ago, except, of course, Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama.
Joining me now from Charlotte is RNC Communications Director Sean Spicer. And Sean, the RNC has its own agenda right there in Charlotte during the Democratic National Convention. What can we expect?
Well, our goal over the next few days is to remind Americans that 4 years ago, this president said that we were going to measure progress by the number of Americans that had jobs and that were able to pay the mortgage. There are 23 million Americans still unemployed. Americans are not better off than they were, which is the fundamental question for any incumbent. And so that we want to make sure that people know that Barack Obama hasn't fulfilled the promises that he laid out. He hasn't fulfilled his agenda. Americans aren't better off. Most costs are up: energy costs, healthcare costs, college costs, and that Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan have a plan to get the economy moving. That'll be their laser focus day one, and get people back to work that they want, that need to be.
Okay, so let's look into last week. The latest polls show Mitt Romney did not get the anticipated bounce in the polls from last week's RNC, a Gallup poll there that we're talking about. Are you concerned about that?
Not at all. I think it depends on, who's looking at the poll. What we look at in that Gallup poll is the likability, the intensity. When you start asking voters, how committed are you to going out and vote for Mitt Romney on a scale of 1 to 10, we see a lot of 10s, 9s, and 8s. When you ask the same question to the Obama team, you're seeing a lot lower numbers, 6 and 5s, meaning our voters, the independents, the Democrats that have come over to Mitt Romney to support him, are committed to getting out there to looking for change because they feel like they've been let down by this president. So I actually, in terms of people coming over to our side, we got everything that we wanted out of that convention.
Well, but last week's convention seems to have had very little impact on swaying those voters. Mitt Romney's speech received the lowest ratings. 16% of Americans rated the speech as poor or terrible. 38% rated it as excellent or good. But that is the lowest rating of any of the 8 speeches Gallup has tracked since 1996. How big of a concern is this when it comes to winning votes, with just 63 days left until Election Day?
Well, look, I think women voters, by and large, if you look at how we're doing historically, McCain, Bush 04, we're doing very, very well, especially in the battleground states. And what you heard a lot last week was a focus on the economy, was a focus on getting people back to work and taking costs down. I think it's sort of a misnomer to say, oh, women voters have a separate set of issues. Women voters, probably more than male voters, are concerned about the economy. They're worried about taking care of their families. They're worried about putting money away for college, paying the bills today, saving up for soccer or baseball camp. So to somehow say that, well, women voters don't care about the economy and jobs, moving debt onto their that's going to get passed down to their kids is somewhat ridiculous. Mitt Romney's got a plan that deals with education, making us energy independent, championing small businesses, opening up new markets. Those are things that I think every parent wants to see, looking out for their family and their children, that tomorrow will be better than today, and the next generation will be as good or better than we have now, which is not the feeling that is in America right now.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about the women voters there. I was talking about voters in general. But let's talk about Paul Ryan here. He seems to be mixing up some of his facts, including last week's reference to the GM plant that shut down after Obama was elected, a decision that was in place before Obama took office, and even recalling his own marathon time incorrectly. He was off by an hour, apparently, there. Do you see these as ongoing problems for the campaign moving forward?
No, in fact, the GM plant was a mistake by, the Dems mistakenly attacked us. I'm glad to talk about that. Paul Ryan said that it closed in 2008, or that President Obama said that when he was elected, he was going to keep it open. It closed. The president then wrote a letter saying that he's going to do everything he can to get that plant back online. It is, in fact, still on standby mode and closed. So Paul Ryan was 100% right. And, in fact, what that highlights is that the president, who was then a candidate in 2008, said that plants like this would stay open with government help, was wrong. Then once elected, he said, I'm going to do everything in my power as president to keep it open. He failed on that as well. Paul Ryan is 100% right, and what it does is that example highlights another failed promise by the president So I think that's something that it comes back as more of a problem for the Dems than it does for us.
I know that Paul Ryan went back and said that he had to re-explain exactly what he meant, that he didn't misspeak, but he had to explain what he meant when he originally made his accusations. RNC Communications Director Sean Spicer, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. It is 40